Welcome to My Waeguk Live, the podcast where we are all about discussing the foreigner experience in Korea,
as well as how professional life fits into that. As Waegukins, we are always trying to find a way
where there seems to be no way.
It's My Waeguk Live. Hello, welcome back to another week of My Waeguk Live. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Anna. This week we have an interview with Ariel from Israel. And last week we asked, what is your New Year's resolution?
We will read some of the answers from our listeners, family, and friends, so stay tuned for that, and also stay tuned for the song recommendations of the week. Just a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by LaBridge Global. Create your tomorrow. If you have a specific freelance service you would like to share with others, but have no proper space to conduct business or manage projects,
or if you need to hire someone with a specific skill set, here is your official invitation to join the LaBridge Global community. Visit LaBridgeGlobal.com to sign up today, or you can contact them at help@LaBridgeGlobal.com. And now, on to our guest interview. We have our first, very first original guest in this podcast.
Right, not
Ariel.
us host.
Hello, shalom.
Welcome.
So, let's jump right into it. Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
My name is Ariel. I'm 33 years old from Israel. I came to Korea as a scholarship student, Korean government scholarship student. I learned Korean for 1 year and a half in Jeonju. It's a little bit south from here. It's the place where they invented bibimbap. So I definitely recommend you to go there if you are a foodie.
I should go there because I am definitely a foodie. Haven't been there yet though.
You should.
Oh, really, you should.
It's cheaper, it's better, you should.
I totally agree. I went there 2 times for a trip. Because when I went first time, I was like, no. This cannot be my last time in Jeonju. And I had to go second time.
Okay, it's on my list for 2019.
Yeah.
So what did you study in school?
After I finished learning Korean, I came to Seoul to study Korean studies, master in Korean studies in Yonsei University. And after that, as I was almost close to graduate, I decided that I want to work in the video game industry.
Oh.
It was not an easy path to discover. I just realized that I like to solve misunderstandings.
Oh, right.
And I also knew that I like video games a lot. And I decided, how about maybe I can do something with those 2 desires. So I started to work as a game translator and localizator. I think, translation, when you say translation, you think, dog. Well,
right.
it's way beyond this. And when it's come to gaming, you need to make sure that it sounds very natural, it's fun, it's something that, the English speaker gamer will enjoy to play.
Right. I can see that because even in working in marketing part-time, where they're like, oh, translate this. And you're like, oh, but this sentence doesn't directly make sense in English.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there were those kinds of challenges as well. Also, when you are working, when you have games, when you have a screen and you don't have too much spaces, Korean words tend to be quite short.
True.
And think about the Korean word songkong. It's just like 2 spaces, but then you translate it to success, and it's like. And I always, I was talking to my coworkers and we need more space.
Yeah.
I can't. I said, can't you find a shorter word? There must be. Sometimes there is, and sometimes just there isn't. And in video games, there is there is art, and there is creativity, but then there are so many technical issues. It's a really interesting industry because there are so many people from so many different worlds, and they need to work together.
Yeah, that's true. Because I recently watched a gameplay of the video game God of War, and I was like, wow, the storytelling and the graphics, the gameplay, because there's the straight line gameplay, but then there's the side stories and the side missions and quests. I was like, okay, I don't know if I have the capacity to know how all of this works.
Yeah, I think what's so wonderful in video games compared to maybe other mediums is that you are free to do whatever you wish to do. You don't want to do the side quests, you don't have to. I have like some kind of a syndrome. I have to do everything. I cannot go to the next game until I do everything. But regarding God of War, I think this is the last game. You know, it's a game that talks about being a father and how to handle your child and what it's like to be a single parent. And think about it. Do you know a movie that can be entertaining and fun and, you know, very, very impressive in a graphic way, but also discuss things like parenthood and
with a little dose of mythology, like just thrown in and all of that,
I think that this is why I think I love video games, because they manage to answer so many different needs. They can you know, they can make you let go of your problems. They can entertain you and still make you think at the same time.
That's true. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm not a big game player though.
You should.
You should.
Oh yeah, I feel pressured right now. Oh my goodness.
Do it.
Next episode, I need to make a report. What games were you playing this week?
I think if I need to say something about the Korean video games, I think, you know, there is if I need to say something very short, I would say that, you know, Korean players tends to be more competitive than others, so there is more emphasis on competitiveness and, you know, so-called show off and less emphasis of a story. But I tend to disagree more as time goes by, because you see a lot of games in the West, such as Call of Duty and you know, soccer games that are very competitive. They are not that very different from each other. You know, if we see like the Pro Evolution Soccer of this year is not very different from the last year, yet people will pay a lot of money to get the original copy. So I would say people outside of Korea and outside of Asia are very competitive. And yet you see new games like Black Desert Mobile that is doing very well in Korea. I have a source from the industry that told me, you know, those people who work there, they got really nice bonuses. So the game is doing really well. And this is not a typically Korean game. A lot of story, a lot of character customization. You can customize your character in so many ways. And so I think this whole division, you know, Eastern style, Western style, still true, but it's less true than it used to be.
It's like the gaming industry is just, you just find the game you like, pretty much nowadays. It's like if you want storytelling, there's storytelling. If you want like straight competitive head-to-head, there's that too. Because I do know most of the people I know who play Call of Duty don't play it for like the streamlined story. They play it because they're like, oh, I'm going online to battle against people.
Although there is story there, but this is, remember I told you, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. So that's the thing. Even if games that considered quite controversial, like Grand Theft Auto, this game brand received a lot of criticism. But I played the Grand Theft Auto 4. It's like the one before the last one, and I saw a lot of discussion about American society, their values, what they represent, what is the ideal versus the reality. If you choose to ignore all of that and you just focusing on shooting people, well, it says more about you than it says about the game.
True.
And I think the Korean video game industry has so much more to offer than it is right now. It is usually around PC game and mobile. Personally, I think that Korea has a lot to offer a lot more to offer. I would love to see a Korean company entering the platform market, because I think Korean culture, Korean history, you can make so many games that are still not out there. And I have a friend, Korean friend, who works in Samsung, and every time that I brought this, he's like, 우리 할 수 없어. 아니야, we can't.
I completely agree with you, though, because as you said that, the first thing that popped into my mind is imagine like the Joseon era, where they had their own assassin, basically from like an Assassin's Creed, but you're learning about Korean culture.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think they need to wait for Ubisoft, with all due respect to Ubisoft, which is a French company, to do them. They can take ownership of the narrative now. They can do it.
That's true.
And I think they just need to believe themselves. If Sony and Microsoft would say, oh, we cannot do this. Atari and Nintendo are controlling the market, and Sega, we wouldn't have all the content that we have right now.
That's true. So I want to know, like, even through KGSP, like, how did you think, oh, Korea is where I want to go to do, like, my further studies? Did you study Korean studies in undergrad?
No, I actually come from the film studies. It was this was actually very helpful in job interviews. Well, because when I started in Yonsei, I immediately felt the gap between me and many of the other Korean studies. I learned films, and then as soon as I started I was about to finish the degree in Israel, the film, I started to have interest in K-pop.
Okay.
But then, it was kind of natural. Oh, I'm doing film studies. And back then, I didn't do really well in my academics.
Yeah.
But so I started to research Korean studies, and suddenly my grades were up. I think my professors were like, oh, something fresh, something new. Maybe they didn't check what I was writing. I don't know. But yeah, I found out that I was very passionate about it. And then I started to take interest in Korean food because, as I said, I'm a foodie. And, as a Hebrew, my mother tongue is Hebrew, and I know how so many things can get lost in translation, no matter how accurate the English translation is. And I realized that, in order to understand those films that I like, I need to start to have a grasp on the language. So I learned Korean language, just chagi soge, like introducing, writing, something that was kind of basic. I had an Israeli teacher who is married to a Korean person, and I think that she became my mentor eventually, and she introduced me to the program, and she was a very good cultural bridge for me, because through her mistakes in the past, I learned a lot of don'ts and do's.
Okay.
And, she was introduced, she had a Korean mother-in-law.
Right.
So she gave me a lot of insights that many other people couldn't. And she gave me this, like, very deep Israeli perspective on Korean culture. And I would say that, at least for the beginning, I didn't have a lot of cultural shocks because she prepared me. The shocks came later on in things and, dynamics and relationship that she didn't encounter. But she really helped me a lot to have, like, a relatively soft landing in Korea.
It was like when you came here, it wasn't just like, oh my God. It was like a
on?
smooth
Yeah.
sail into it.
My other foreigner friends were like that. And I was like, yeah, I knew it would be like that.
Yeah. It's like me last week, I told you, right? Because I was studying Asian studies. Like, it was pretty much okay when I came here at the beginning. But then, Ariel, what was your first culture shock in Korea?
I think, well, I would say I think it started when I started dating in Korea. I think I thought that we and Koreans are pretty similar. Koreans are very pali-pali, and we are yala-yala. We like things fast. I mean, don't waste our time.
Right.
But the whole thing of mannerism is very strong here in Korea. I mean, it's rooted in the language with the grammar. So the thing is, you can date with someone who has absolutely no interest in you, and yet you will still spend 4 hours talking, and you will think, wow, it went great. And then the person doesn't react anymore.
Yeah.
That thing was very bizarre to me. And, it was a pretty painful experience to learn that, the Koreans, the dynamics in dating is different, and they are not as direct. They like it fast. But they also come from a different culture where mannerism is very important and respect is. So, and sometimes it will be stronger than the desire to have everything fast. So I would say, it was, and the thing is, my teacher, she used to be a KGSP student as well, but it was like in 2007 when they didn't have smartphones, or it wasn't as common as today.
Right.
So they communicate in a quite different way. This is why I guess she couldn't warn me because...
About that, yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that because I think Korean people would rather kind of slowly stop talking to you or ghosting rather than go, okay, I don't think this is working out. I apologize and move on. Like they don't have that aggressiveness in the way they interact with people.
That's the thing. I never thought of this as aggressiveness. For me, it was about not wasting my and the other person time.
Right.
I mean, why would you spend so much time with me if you don't want to? But they do it, and eventually, I guess I can understand, because in every culture there are weird things. But if you are born to this culture, you're just used to it, and you just go with it.
And it's normal for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. After a while, you learn to go, oh, this is just kind of how Korean people do things. I'll just adjust because I want to be here.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree. I mean, there is always, when I have like something going through some difficult moment, I always tell myself, well, you have the option. You can't handle it anymore. Great, leave, go back to your country. No one is forcing you to be here.
Yeah.
And I think, some people can handle other cultures better than others. Some people can handle this culture better than that culture. And I think it's all about what kind of person of you are. Can you embrace the advantages of this culture? Can you really enjoy it? And is it stronger than, the challenges that the disadvantages creating? It's all about what kind of person you are and what you value and what can you handle what can you handle?
That's very true. That's a wise word.
Yes.
Coming from our guest today.
Thank you very much.
I also think that it's also about what kind of people do you meet along the way.
Yeah.
Like the longer you are here and the more experiences you have, your perception can totally change. Like for me, if I was here only 2 years, I would say I don't want to come back to Korea at all. Like I had very bad experiences at the beginning especially, but then everything changed and I was shocked. Like how come suddenly my life in Korea is different? And this is still so bizarre for me personally. But now I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think you do have to widen. I think especially with Korea, you have to be willing to meet Korean people and interact in Korean ways in terms of like experiencing the culture and going traveling. Because when I first came here, it was language school. I was in language school, but also in language school, I'm around a bunch of foreigners and a bunch of Chinese people. I'm hanging out with foreigners and Chinese people. As soon as I got into university and all my sambes were Korean people in working environments and I'm going to have lunch with them as well, I'm like, oh, this makes life a little bit more like seamless. Like it seems a lot easier to deal with. Like, yes, I have my foreigner friends, but having that Korean friend or two that you can talk to or help you through things makes it much different.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There was, that Britney Spears song, Overprotected. I think that when I think about my time in language school as well, the office took care for everything we needed. We barely made an effort. And, being surrounded by foreigner friends, and you just learn the language, especially on the first levels, level 1 and 2, which is pretty easy. It felt like, a summer camp. Yeah. And it was summer, yeah.
Yes.
So, and then you get the shock of level 3.
That is true.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
And then your teacher said, level 3 is where most students drop off. And as soon as you progress, you understand why.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think definitely for me, the relationship with Korean friends is, I cannot imagine how much it helped me. Actually, the apartment that I'm living in now is all thanks to a Korean friend of mine. We were looking together for an apartment. And they actually didn't plan to show this particular apartment. But my Korean friend overheard them saying, "Oh, there is this apartment. Yeah, but someone is coming tomorrow to see it. So no, let's not show it." And it was like, "Excuse me, can you maybe show it? Because my friend might." And it was really awesome apartment. And if I would go there with maybe, I don't know, foreign friend who doesn't have a really sharp ear, let alone Korean skills, I couldn't live somewhere else, but still, it was all thanks to him. And he helped me with the moving. And, I tend to forget a lot of things when I'm nervous. Yeah. And he was like my personal assistant. So the best thing I could do is buy him, a meal and a drink later. But it just shows you how one person, who can deal with the language and everything in a very natural way. Yeah. It was just amazing. And this is just one friend.
Yeah, that's true. Because, I guess because everybody has their friends, but when you have that friend who's willing to be like, I know the corporate side of this world and the legal side of this and what you should get, and I know how to talk to you comfortably. Like, let me help you out. Let me bridge the gap. It makes everything seem less stressing, I guess, less heavy.
You have someone on your side who's on the one hand from their team, but he's actually in your team.
Yeah, that's true. So what is one of the biggest misconceptions people, like when you go to somebody and they're like, "Where are you from?" And you go, "Israel." And what's one of the biggest misconceptions they have of you being from Israel?
I actually had a job interview with really nice people, but their knowledge about Israel was very, very funny. So they say, "Well, you wrote here that you learn in this high school. Where was it in Israel? But you said it was in Asia." Yeah, Israel is in Asia. And then it's like, "So what is your mother tongue?" "Oh, Hebrew." "Oh, so it's kind of like English." "No, Arabic."
What? They thought Hebrew was similar to... I'm sorry. That was an L for Korean people right there.
I think, well, you know what? I'm not, listen, they, in the game industry, their job is not to be, multiculturalized. They don't need to. I'm sure that if you go in the street of Israel, you will find some Israeli people that are not less arrogant regarding Korea. You will find those funny people everywhere.
That's true.
We should postpone the rest of our conversation to the next episode.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Because I have so many questions to you, but
I guess it's a good thing.
Limited time already, and we have to process with our next 2 sections.
Okay, so for
Ariel,
now,
please come back next week.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you'll be back. For now, we'll be moving on to our question of the week.
So, on to our second segment, the question of the week. If you want to ask a question or you want to answer our question, contact us at libridgeglobal@gmail.com. So now let's move on to the question. What's your New Year's resolution? Or do you even make New Year's resolutions?
So for me, personally, I still have them, I suppose, but I don't like calling them New Year's resolutions anymore, just because I feel like that's like a young adult fantasy that I'm trying to grow out of. I just have goals and responsibilities I'd like to bring forth in my 2019 plans. One of which obviously is to get my visa sorted out.
Oh yes, that's everybody's dream as a foreigner.
Second is to get my Korean level up. See, my thing with Korean is like a lot of people want to hire foreigners in this country as a foreigner, and I don't want to enter work as a foreigner. I want you to enter work as somebody who's capable, qualified, and who can communicate, who happens to be a foreigner.
Yes. I totally agree.
Those are probably my two biggest resolutions/goals. The language would have to come first. Well, the language comes first in a sense, but getting to the real peak of my language ability can come at any point in the year. Also to travel more. What about you, Anna? What New Year's resolutions do you have?
I have to... After you said about like improving Korean language, about visa, I would say, yeah, that's true. But for me, the most important thing right now is to be happy. As much as it sounds very general, but like recently I think like my mood is a little bit down and I don't want that. So I'm trying to improve. So I don't know, it's because of winter or fall, like crisis or something like this. Maybe it will just naturally end. But I just want to make 2019 the year when you're just happy and moving forward, always moving forward.
I get that.
Yeah.
I feel that. That hits me right here in the heart.
How about you, Ariel? Do you have any New Year's resolution?
For me, I don't tend to look at this like the year. I have goals, and I'm trying to keep up with them all the time. I do hope that by the end of this year I will have my 6 packs back because I visited in Israel for my younger sister's wedding, and it's amazing how much weight I gain within 1 month. Yeah, I always said that I'm okay not eating Israeli food, but then I visit there and then I realize
all the foods.
Yeah, then the truth.
So yeah, I'm trying, but really beyond that, I really try to improve myself. Language definitely, but it's not something that it's the end of the year. Let's see. I'm always have this goal list that I'm trying to achieve. Yeah.
I think that's why as you get older, you stop going, I have New Year's resolutions, and you just know that you have certain things you want to accomplish. And as time goes by, you build upon it.
Then I embrace being old with open arms.
Nice.
Is that it for
our
question of the week? Okay. For next week, the question will be, how are you planning to ring in the New Year's? Tell us about the parties, wine, fireworks, church services, or even if you're planning to have some quiet time. To send us an email with your answers or leave a comment wherever you can leave comments.
And now it's time to close out with the recommended song of the week.
Remember, if you would like to send in a recommendation, send us an email at libridgeglobal@gmail.com. or drop us a comment wherever comments can be made. Anna, what's your song this week?
I have to admit, yesterday, till like 5 p.m., I had no idea what I want to recommend. But then, on my way home, it just struck my brain and my musical mind that, yes, there is one song that I think it's a theme of my week, which is Non-Stop from musical Hamilton. If you have never heard about Hamilton, you should go now to YouTube and listen to it, please. I love Hamilton. I'm a huge fan. I think it's like the most important musical for me right after Lion King. Like, really. From English musicals, of course. So this song is pretty long. Like, songs in Hamilton are pretty long, especially when you have a lot of rap. Like, it makes song seem to be longer. But the main point of that is that Hamilton, the main character, he just cannot stop doing things. He's just writing, trying to get himself out there.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment at the end of the song when his wife and her sister, which is also supposedly in love with him, they sing to him like he will never be satisfied. Like, he just goes nonstop and he will never get the satisfaction, and that's what they have to deal with. So when I listen to that song, it gives me this energy and kind of motivation to just move forward. And I don't want to be dissatisfied all my life, right? I want to find the satisfaction with little things and happiness with little things. But it just gives you this, like, come on, like, you can do it. Just move forward and see what happens.
I like that. We all have somebody who sometimes is like, do it over. It's not good enough. Sometimes it's that person's own issues that's causing that, not you actually being inefficient.
Yes.
So my song of the week this week is Supermarket Flowers by Ed Sheeran. It's from his 2018 album Divide.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you know that just by the symbol with the 2 dots and the line in the middle.
Yes.
When I love Ed Sheeran type of indie, like acoustic music feel, but when he gets emotional, that's my favorite Ed Sheeran. And this song, it's about, he's singing from his mother, I believe, perspective about her mother. So he's singing about his grandmother, but it's from his mother's perspective about the sadness of losing her. And I'm a mama's girl. Sorry, Dad. He knows this, but it's like to his detriment, or he's always trying to get my attention. But I'm like, you have 3 sons, okay? Like, let me and Mom be me and Mom. I'm a mama's girl, so like anything that where people are talking about loving their mother or missing their mother, it's something that hits my heart.
Yeah.
So, and it's not so much of a boo-hoo, you're gone. It's more of a tribute to the life you led and what you mean to me. And thank you for being here despite the fact that you're now gone. So any day where you're just like, I miss my mom, that's a good song to kind of give a listen to. What about you, Ariel? Do you have any songs you'd like to recommend to listeners? Anything you've been playing a lot recently?
Oh, it really depends on my mood. I cannot think of a particular song right now. I think, well, I would recommend a Korean song of a girl group named G-Idol.
G-Idol?
Yes. The song is called Han. And I think, it's a breakup song basically. But I think, it shows, if you look at the English translation, you see how different Korean language is. And even if you take like a very common topic as breakup, there is this one line there when they say, when you see me again, just stand there, be empty, and I will just smile because I don't know you anymore. I mean, that's harsh.
Yeah,
that's like, yes. And that is, a girl group song.
Right.
And like, I mean, we talk about mannerism and how they are not direct, but when they talk about their emotions, they can be quite sharp. Yeah. And if you do this in English, that will be, whoa, that's heavy.
That would be a deep cut. Or be like, listen, just be over there. I don't care.
Yes.
No, but then, they are so specific. I want you to be empty. And I will smile because I don't know. Whew, something happened there, all right.
Yeah, that wasn't a good breakup.
Yep.
That will end our song recommendation for this week.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us this week. If you're listening on YouTube or SoundCloud, leave us a comment, even if it's just to say hi.
And if you would like to be a part of our podcast as a guest or have any suggestion about what would you like to hear, send us an email at livedoitglobal@gmail.com.
Bye.
Bye.